Hey everyone, what's going on? This is Matt Dinerman, the track announcer at Emerald Downs, and we are here to talk about our upcoming mile preview day, a big day for all the fans here at Emerald Downs and the horsemen as well. We've got 4 stakes races on the card this coming Sunday, and you can listen to the analysis right here on YouTube. Now let's talk about how things are going to work on Sunday before we get into the races. We've got 4 races, all stakes races, beginning with race number 5, that's the Emerald Express Stakes for 2-year-old colts and geldings. Race number 6 is the NGC Stakes for 2-year-old fillies. Then we turn our attention to race number 7, the Boeing Stakes, fillies and mares to go 1 mile in that event. And then the final stakes race on the card, race number 8, we have the Mount Rainier Stakes. The Mount Rainier Stakes, of course, the final prep race for the Long Acres Mile, the big one here at Emerald Downs, $200,000 Grade 3 event. The Mount Rainier, a $50,000 stakes, and the older colts and geldings will be going 1 mile and a 16th in the Mount Rainier. So actually, a 16th of a mile longer than the Long Acres Mile. In the last 12 years, 9 horses that won the Long Acres Mile have come out of the Mount Rainier. So the numbers indicate there's a very good chance that maybe one of the runners in this race will be your Long Acres Mile winner. We'll talk about that race in a little while, but we're going to get right to the action and analyze these 4 stakes races. And we begin our analysis with the Emerald Express, the first of 4 stakes races. Remember, folks, this is a special day because usually we have an early pick 4, races 1 through 4, and then we have a late pick 4, which is the last 4 races of the day. On this Sunday, mile preview day, we've got a middle pick 4 as well. It's the all stakes pick 4, a 50-cent minimum wager. So race number 5, the Emerald Express, begins that late pick 4, or rather I should say the middle pick 4. And then we do have a late pick 4 later on in the card. But let's talk about race number 5, the Emerald Express. $50,000 is the pot here for 2-year-old colts and geldings. We've got 7 signed on here. They'll be going 5.5 furlongs. And your morning line favorite looks like that's number 5, Sippin' Fire from the Steve Bullock stable. Now, Sippin' Fire, he's bred to be a good one. He's by Harbor the Gold out of a dam named Bahati, who has done some really good work as a producer. In fact, Sippin' Fire is a full sibling to Del Rio Harbor and Could Have Been the Whiskey. Both runners, Washington State champions. They were very good at age 2. And Sippin' Fire certainly looks like he's off to a good start in his career, and he's a nice 2-year-old himself. He broke his maiden on July 2nd. He won by a head that day. Outgamed a runner named Brown Tiger, who's also signed on in this race from the Jonathan Nance stable. Sippin' Fire ran a super good race. He stalked the pace, got a perfect trip. Javier Matias rode him, and he gave him a great ride, and he was able to pounce on Brown Tiger, who was dueling out on the lead, and Sippin' Fire won the race by a head. It was a game win. That was 2 weeks ago. He comes back in 14 days. The thing about Sippin' Fire, folks, is this horse is a candidate to bounce, and if you don't know what the bounce theory is, you're going to hear it right now. Basically, a horse bounces when they run a super big race, and they come back in a short period of time, even 3 or 4 weeks, and then they regress significantly. This horse ran a really good race. It was his first career start, and you have to wonder, a young horse like this, is he going to be okay with the 2-week break, coming back shortly, and now has to run a big race again against some really nice horses? I think he's beatable in this spot for that reason. I think in terms of talent, Sippin' Fire is probably one of the more talented 2-year-olds on the grounds. He's well-bred. He looked awesome last time out. In fact, his works indicated he was going to run a good race. He worked a couple of 5-furlong drills before that maiden breaking score. He came back on July 10th and actually worked a really sharp half mile, 46-2. So that's a good sign. But I'm trying to beat Sippin' Fire with a horse by the name of Vicente Shadow. He's number 6 in this race. And Vicente Shadow broke his maiden on June 18th for the Blaine Wright stable. For the folks who have been tuning into Emerald Downs, you have seen just how dominant Blaine Wright has been at this meet. He was very dominant last year as well, as he took down the training title. And Vicente Shadow's an interesting horse because you look back at his maiden race on June 18th, he went off at 11-1, and Blaine had 3 runners in this race, and Vicente Shadow was the longest shot of the 3. I don't know if maybe he didn't show what he showed, or I should say, he did not show in the mornings what he showed in the afternoons. I don't know if he was just a well-kept secret, maybe a combination of both, but Vicente Shadow went off at 11-1. What was really good about his effort was he was going towards the lead. He was trying to get good position heading into the turn. Juan Flores was being aggressive on him out of the gate. This was a 4.5 furlong sprint, and Vicente Shadow at the half-mile pole had to take up. He tried to get through a hole, a spot that really wasn't available, and Juan Flores had to slam on the brakes. In these 2-year-old 4.5 furlong sprints, it's critical to get good position on the first turn. By the first turn, that far turn, you want to get good position, and there's very little room for error. So what you see is a horse who had to check very sharply heading towards the far turn. Right there and then, you would think that that horse would have had no shot to win that race, but Vicente Shadow regathered himself at the 8th pole. He came with a really nice run and ran on to win by a length. He's going it looks like another furlong today. But the good news is Vicente Shadow should like that extra furlong. He's come back to work twice since that maiden breaking score. Has a little bit more time in between races than Sip and Fire does. And Vicente Shadow worked a half in 46 and change on July 10th. Got the bullet that morning. So I think this horse, Vicente Shadow, a nice horse to look for a top barn, draws towards the outside. He should be clear of traffic trouble this time. Hopefully he'll get a good trip, and he's my top pick in the Emerald Express Stakes. Another horse to consider is Brown Tiger from the Jonathan Nance stable. Jonathan's got 2 runners in here, and Brown Tiger finished second behind Sip and Fire last time out. He was dueling on the lead, Brown Tiger, and dug in gamely when Sip and Fire came alongside. I think Sip and Fire got the better trip. I think Brown Tiger and Sip and Fire both ran really good races. Both were winning efforts, and Jonathan Nance says, you know what, I'm going to put Brown Tiger in this stakes race, even though he is a maiden. I'll tell you what, if he ran in a maiden special weight race this weekend, if there was one, or next weekend, he'd be odds on to win it. So Brown Tiger facing Sip and Fire once again. But let me tell you, I think Brown Tiger's got a good chance in this race. He's another horse that could bounce. Sip and Fire and Brown Tiger in the same league in that respect. And Brown Tiger, he's going to have pressure out on the front end again, just like he did last time out. But if he can ration that speed and maybe improve in his second lifetime start, he's got a big shot under jockey Julien Couton, who actually rode the other Jonathan Nance runner, Rosie's Reward, to a victory on June 24th, but Julien opts to stick with number 3 Brown Tiger. So that tells you what Julien Couton and his agent, David Marbles Singer, think of who's better between the 2 Nance runners. Rosie's Reward gets the services of Rocco Bowen. Rosie's Reward comes off a length and a quarter score at the maiden $25,000 level. He beat Hey Sequoia and Cody's Choice, 2 runners that are also running on Sunday in a maiden race, and they both look like top contenders. So I think Rosie's Reward in this spot, facing tougher. He's a son of Warrior's Reward that was purchased for just $1,500, and he's already made that money back and much more. So that was a good buy. And Rosie's Reward could do some damage in his second lifetime start. He could take a step forward off that effort, but he's facing better. So my top pick is Vicente Shadow in the first stakes race and the first leg of the All Stakes Pick 4. Vicente Shadow, number 6. We turn our attention to race number 6, and that's the NGC Stakes for 2-year-old fillies. They'll be going 5.5 furlongs too. 9 runners are set to go here. And you've got a couple of interesting horses in here as well. We've seen quite a few talented 2-year-olds over the course of the meet with the boys. We see plenty of them in the Emerald Express, and that's what we find with the filly division. Plenty of nice fillies in this race. The morning line favorite at 6-5 is My Aunt Mo. Now, My Aunt Mo has never run here at Emerald Downs. She ran one time. It was at Hastings in Canada. She was purchased for $85,000. She's by Uncle Mo out of a Tisnow mare. Good breeding there. And she won her debut pretty nicely, won by a length and a half. Went off at 4-5 that day, so she was well meant. A lot of people obviously thought that she could run, and she certainly did not disappoint. She earned a career or a field high buyer here, 61. So that tells you that from a pace standpoint, from a speed figure standpoint, My Aunt Mo looks like the quickest one in this race. But that's just on speed figures alone. Here's the catch, though. She ran a 3.5 furlong race. That's not very far. She has to go another quarter mile today. She can probably get 5.5 furlongs. I mean, most runners can, but My Aunt Mo facing a tougher group that has run longer than she has. You've got a bunch of Emerald Downs runners that won at 4.5, 5 furlongs. and they've got a little more, I would say, stamina in that regard because they've run farther in a race. But My Aunt Mo looks like a nice filly. She's shipping in for owner and trainer Glenn Todd. Mike Puich, of course, the listed trainer, but My Aunt Mo's been training with owner-trainer Glenn Todd up at Hastings, and she's one to consider. Obviously, 6-5 on the morning line. Rob Rao, our morning line maker, thinks that she's the one to beat in that spot. I think she can be beaten, and I'm taking a shot with a runner, number 1, Philly Baby from the Chris Stensley stable. I don't like the post. She draws the rail. She has to hustle out of there from the inside post. I don't like runners racing on the rail in a sprint, but the good news for Philly Baby is she's got a lot of early speed. So honestly, from the rail, you're going to go to the front with her, but if she was drawn in the 5 or 6 post position, she'd probably go to the front too. Jose Zunino was aboard last time out. He hops back aboard. This filly is by Justin Phillip out of a mare named Bianconi Baby, who has produced a number of winners, and one of those winners was a very nice horse named Scat Daddy Baby. He's not with us, unfortunately, anymore, but Scat Daddy Baby did a lot of good work here at Emerald Downs. He was versatile. He went to the lead. He could sit off if he needed to. He could sprint. He could route, and I think Philly Baby is going to be one of these runners who is very versatile down the road. Philly Baby broke her maiden by 5 lengths in her very first start on June 11th. Won very nicely that day, and one of the runners in that race came right back to win, Bella Mia, who's also signed on here in the NGC Stakes. Now, Philly Baby, what I like about her is that she showed a lot of early zip last time out with pressure, and she just kept going. So she's a filly that has game this right off the bat, and I really like the fact that even though she's so young, she was making her career debut, she was able to deal with all this pace pressure up front and still draw off and win nicely. It was a beautiful win. Again, I don't love the rail post position, but I think she's good enough to compete in this race. She's had time between that big effort to now to get ready for this race, and Chris Stensley does a really good job with her runners. She keeps them really healthy. They always look great on the track, and I think Philly Baby's ready for a good effort here in the NGC Stakes. Bella Mia, number 5, she's one that finished behind Philly Baby, and that race was her first race as well when Philly Baby won. And Bella Mia finished 4th that afternoon. She was on the rail. Esjuan Flores was riding. She looked loaded at the top of the lane. I thought she was your winner at the quarter pole, and you can even hear it in the call that I said that she was loaded. And then when she found room on the inside, she didn't really accelerate that much, sort of evenly raced down the lane and finished 4th. In her next start, she drew farther outside. She went to the lead. She got a pretty easy time of it. So from a pace perspective, that was her race to lose there because she really just went to the front and just kept going without any pressure. But she ran a much improved race in her second lifetime start. She won easily. She had more left in the tank, and I like that. But the thing is, now she's got to deal with Philly Baby again, and she's going to have to deal with a field that has more speed in it. If Bella Mia tries to go to the lead, she's not getting an easy lead this time. I like the fact that she stalked in her first start, and even though she didn't really run on that much, it was her first start. You can be forgiving. She was on the inside. Maybe she didn't like it in there, and she's drawn towards the outside now. Julian Coutan was aboard in her maiden breaking score and lifetime start number 2 on July 1st, and he hops back aboard. So that's a good thing to see right there. Bella Mia comes from the Blaine Wright stable. Of course, Blaine Wright trains our pick in the Emerald Express, Vicente Shadow. But Bella Mia's in with a good chance here, especially if she can run like she did last time out on July 1st, where she won and broke her maiden by 5 1/4 lengths. C in Red, number 4, she's a runner in this race that looks like she's got some talent as well. But I have to say one thing about C in Red is that she hadn't worked after her maiden score for about 5 weeks. I don't know what happened there, but that's not a positive sign. On May 29th, she won the race by 2.5 lengths. She broke her maiden, and she didn't work until July 9th. She worked an easy half mile, and now she's in. I'm playing against C in Red. A lot of people know this filly by Trap Shot because she won the very first 2-year-old race here at Emerald Downs this year. But I am playing against her in that respect. I think the rest of them probably have to improve a little bit to beat the runners that we talked about in here. So I went over the main contenders in the NGC Stakes. I'm going with the rail runner, number 1, Philly Baby. And hopefully she can get the job done, but I'd expect her to try to take the field gate to wire. So that's the second leg of the All Stakes Pick 4. Let's go to the third leg, the Boeing Stakes, race number 7. For older fillies and mares, they'll be going 1 mile here. And this is a race that I've had a really tough time trying to figure out who's going to win this race. I think that you could make positives and negatives for every single runner in this field. And I think there are a lot of runners in here that talent-wise, they might be a little better than some of the others, but they're better sprinting. Runners like Citizen Kitty, runners like Psycho Sister and Profound Moment. Psycho Sister, rather, she's a filly who I think's better on turf and synthetics, but from a talent standpoint, I think she fits in with this group. Profound Moment, similar to number 2 Citizen Kitty. I think Profound Moment is probably better sprinting. This is a route today, so you have to look and see which runners in here like going a route of ground. One runner I figured is McDove, and if McDove had a better post, I might have actually picked her on top, but she draws the post position number 9. That's not a good draw for her. In 1 mile races, we've had 7 occasions where there is someone breaking from post position number 9, and they're 0 for 7. I would rather see a runner drawn closer to the rail, not necessarily the rail, but I don't want her all the way out to the outside post. She's going to be losing ground. She's got tactical speed, but there's a lot of speed in here, a lot of runners stretching out, so I'd have to imagine McDove's going to try to sit off the pace today, try to save some ground on that first turn as much as she can anyway. And maybe she can get the job done sitting off the pace, but I'd imagine that's what they're going to try to do with her, is sit off the pace, make one run for the Emerald Racing Club, who, of course, many of you know has done good work here over the years. The Emerald Racing Club with 200 members, 200 owners for McDove, and this is the first time an Emerald Racing Club horse has actually been in a stakes race, so we wish the Emerald Racing Club luck. I think from really a class standpoint, she's a little bit up against it. When you look at her route races, they've been very solid, and I don't think there's anyone in here that's that particularly tough in route races. So that's why I think McDove actually has a really good shot to make some noise in here, but I don't like the post position. Number 8, Protective Shield, is 12-1. I sort of like this filly. And Protective Shield last time out only lost by 3 lengths to some of the better sprinters. Profound Moment, Citizen Kitty. She hopped at the start, sort of rushed up towards those leaders, sat in a good stalking position. You look at Protective Shield's route races. One time she ran on the turf and ran 4th, but that was her lone turf try, and I don't think she really liked the turf. You've seen that she has won going 2 turns on the dirt. She won the Arizona Oaks as a 3-year-old in February of 2016 and won at odds of 2-5. I think Protective Shield at 12-1 is in with a really big chance here. She's my top pick, I guess my long shot of the day. And I think she'll like going a route of ground. I think she'll like going a route of ground more than a lot of others in here, and she's ready to do some damage. She has a nice 6-furlong drill heading into this. She's going to sit off the fast pace. She should stalk, and I think Protective Shield, a long shot to consider. Let's talk about some of the main contenders who I'm playing against, but I know a lot of people like, and we're going to talk about them. We'll start with number 2, Citizen Kitty, 3-1 on the morning line. Her best work has come sprinting. You look at her route races, she's only had a couple in her career. One time she ran on the turf, she finished off the board. She's routed on the dirt before, one other time going a mile, and she finished off the board that day as well. So I think Citizen Kitty's a better sprinter. She should be forwardly placed. There's going to be plenty of pressure in this race on the front end. So Citizen Kitty's not going to get an easy lead. She is versatile. She can sit off the pace, but stretching out from a sprint to a route, I think that she's probably going to be on the lead with a couple of other runners in here. Citizen Kitty, a sprinter for me, I'm playing against. The same can be said for Profound Moment. I think her best races have come sprinting. You look last time out, she won the Washington State Legislators Stakes fairly easily. Even though she is bred to like 2 turns, you look at her only 2-turn races, and both were off-the-board finishes, including on May 13th, just 2 starts ago, she ran a mile and a 16th against Allowance Company at Churchill Downs, and she almost lost by 10 lengths. So she went off at, 7-2, and she lost by a good margin. I think Profound Moment's a sprinter myself. We'll see. Psycho Sister, another one we talked about. Now, this runner's best races have come on turf and synthetic. She's 0 for 3 going a mile, and she's also 0 for 3 on dirt. So I question whether she's going to like this track. She comes off a bit of a freshening. Last time out on May 28th, she lost by about 1.25 lengths, finished 4th behind a next out winner, Fervent Femme. And Psycho Sister is a runner who is freshening. I think she's going to be very quick. freshening up. Sometimes these horses that are really fresh, they show a little more natural early speed. She likes to be in front anyway, so I know Psycho Sister is going to be towards the lead. Citizen Kitty's going to be showing speed. My Heart Goes On, number 3. She's a long shot, but she should be showing speed in this race. And even BCZ Middleton stretching out two turns this afternoon. She probably will go to the front as well. So you've got a contentious pace that can set things up for my top pick, Protective Shield, who I think will be sitting in mid-pack, as well as McDove. And Princess Katey, number 1. She's the last one we'll talk about. Princess Katey won once over this track. That race was the only time that she's ever gone a route of ground. She won the Irish Day Stakes, sat off a blazing fast pace, got everything her own way. She worked really hard to get to the wire first, but she got the job done. After that race, something happened. She was given over a year off. She comes back at Hastings on June 17th and loses by 12 lengths sprinting. She's done good work sprinting before. Maybe she needed the race. That race was concerning. We have to wonder whether she's the same filly as she was last year. But she's going to get a fast pace to run into again on this day. And she's one to consider from out of the clouds. She's 6-1 on the morning line. We know she likes this track, and we know she likes routing. So Princess Katey, one to consider. That's the third leg of the All Stakes Pick 4. Let's go to the fourth leg, the final leg, the Mount Rainier. This is a fun race. We've got 10 older colts and geldings. They'll be going the distance of 1 1/16 miles. Usually with prep races, we don't see the preps being longer than the big races. So, like I said earlier, you've got runners in here going 1 1/16 miles, and then in the Long Acres Mile, they'll be cutting back 1/16 of a mile. So you know that these runners are going to be fit for the Long Acres Mile once they run in that event. Let's talk about the main contenders in the Mount Rainier this year. Prime Engine is my top pick, and we're going to start with him. Prime Engine, a horse that has always had a ton of talent. I've always been a big fan of this horse. There have been times where things haven't gone his way, other times where he hasn't been quite 100%, but he's going good this year. And what I like about Prime Engine is he's versatile. In his past couple of races, he ran sneaky good races, sitting close to very fast paces in sprint races, and this horse just wasn't quite good enough to keep going. He's not going to have to go 44 this afternoon, and one thing I like about Prime Engine is that he's versatile. You look at a couple of his route races all the way back in 2015. When he won the Emerald Downs Derby, they weren't going that fast, going 1 1/8 miles, and he sat second off a leader, blew by that leader on the far turn and won the race pretty easily. But that tells me that Prime Engine is rateable. That tells me that this horse doesn't need to be sent hard out of the gate to get the lead immediately. He's tactical, and I like that. I think Prime Engine's going to have a lot left in the tank today if he can rate. I would like to see him rate. I'm picking him on top because I think he's going to rate, and I think he's going to have a little more stamina down the lane. Julien Couton rides for the first time, and Prime Engine, my top pick in the Mount Rainier Stakes. He's going to get the first jump on runners like Mach 1 Rules and Barkley, two main contenders that we're just about to talk about. So Prime Engine is my top pick. Number 3, Mach 1 Rules, won the Budweiser Stakes. He'd been finishing behind Barkley about 5 or 6 times, and he finally turns the tables on that runner. He ran a really good race. Barkley had a lot of trouble in that race, so that hurt his chances. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. But Mach 1 Rules is a horse, another one that's always had a lot of talent. He's proven before that he can go a route of ground. In fact, he ran in the Seattle Slew Stakes going this distance last year and only lost by a head to Barkley. So he can sprint and route, and Mach 1 Rules is going great at the age of 4. He ran his best race ever, I thought, last time out in the Budweiser Stakes, where he beat Barkley as well as Prime Engine, and To Grandma's House we go. I think he's going to run another good race. He's doing great. I think he's a horse that, like Prime Engine, is versatile. He's not going to be on the lead. He'll be stalking the pace, and he'll be trying to get the first jump on Barkley once again, and he'll have to run by Prime Engine. But I'm expecting Mach 1 Rules to run another good race, and I actually picked him second. My third pick is Barkley in this race, number 5. He's 5-2 on the morning line, the favorite on the morning line, made by our morning line man, Rob Rao. And Barkley's a pretty cool horse. I mean, it's hard to knock him. 7 for 10 lifetime, 2 second-place finishes. He finished off the board for the first time in his career last time out in the Budweiser, but he had a traffic-filled trip. It was not a good trip at all. He only lost by 2 lengths. Would he have won the race? I don't really know if he would have won the race. That's really hard to say. Would he have finished 4th? No, I don't think he would have. I think he would have been much closer than 2 lengths behind Mach 1 Rules at the finish. But Barkley got in some trouble, had to stop 3 or 4 times, and he still gave a good effort, only lost by 2 lengths. The thing about Barkley is I think he's best going 6.5, 7 furlongs, maybe a mile. I think a mile and a 16th is a little bit stretching it. He could probably get the distance, but I don't think it's his best distance. And he's a horse that's going to be sitting midfield off a fast pace in this race. And horses like Mach 1 Rules and Prime Engine are going to get the first jump on him. Barkley's as game as they come. He's a really cool horse. Like we talked about, he beat Mach 1 Rules many times last year, so he can obviously beat a horse like him. Prime Engine he's finished in front of. Barkley's good enough to win this race, but he needs to get the right trip this time. Javier Matias needs to keep him out of traffic trouble. If he does, he's in with a really good chance. And if he can get the mile and a 16th like he can going 6.5 and a mile, he's going to be okay. But Barkley, I'm trying to beat him. And it's funny because the 2 times that I've picked Barkley to win a race, I try to beat him a lot. The 2 times I've picked Barkley to win, he's lost. And every time I pick against him, it seems that he beats me. So maybe this is a good time to play Barkley because I'm not playing him on top this time. I'm playing Prime Engine number 2, Mach 1 Rules number 3 second, and number 5, Barkley third. Number 4 to Grandma's House we go. He's a horse that's finished third in the past 2 older stakes races here this year behind Barkley, Mach 1 Rules, and Prime Engine. This horse is by House of Royal Hearts out of Sophisticated Slew. Sophisticated Slew won 3 races in her career here at Emerald Downs. All of those races were sprinters or were sprint races. House of Royal Hearts, he could route, but he has produced a lot of runners that are really nice sprinters like Huya. I think he's a better sprinter than he is a router. Wesley is a horse that a lot of people know around here. He's by House of Royal Hearts. I think he's a better sprinter than he is a router. And I'm sort of thinking to Grandma's House we go is a horse that's probably a better late running sprinter than he is a router. Sometimes people get caught in this trap. They look at a horse coming from far out of it and these sprints and they say all he wants is more ground and he's going to be good as gold. Sometimes they get caught in that trap and the horses end up being late running sprinters. Based on the breeding, based on the way he runs, I sort of have the feeling to Grandma's House we go, maybe a late running sprinter. We're going to find out on Sunday. Rocco Bowen has the mount. He's been aboard all 8 lifetime starts, the leading rider here at Emerald. To Grandma's House we go, 8-1 on the board. If he does like 2 turns, then he's in with a really solid chance to at the very least hit the board again, but he's probably going to need to pick up the pace if he wants to win this Mount Rainier Stakes. Striker PhD is a horse that we have all come to love here in the state of Washington. And you can make the argument that he's not the same horse as he once was. But last time out, he ran in the Budweiser Stakes coming off a layoff of about 3 months. He ran 6.5 furlongs. This was the first time he had sprinted in 3 years. And I thought he put up a really respectable race. Came with a big run. Was sitting far off the lead like he usually does. And he came with a big acceleration down the stretch, only lost by 3 lengths. It was a really solid effort, I thought. Heading into this Mount Rainier Stakes, second off the layoff, he might be a little more fit. And even Sharon Ross told me, Striker PhD, before this race, she said, he's going to need this race. We're using this as a workout, a prep race for the Mount Rainier and then the Long Acres Mile. So I thought it was a very, very good effort from Striker PhD in the Budweiser Stakes. The good news for him is that he's going to have a fast pace to run in here. You've got Please Be Me number 1, who showed speed last time out. From the rail, I would have to assume he's going to the lead again. Prime Engine's going to keep the pace honest. I think he's going to stalk, but he could keep that pace honest up there. You also look and you see that Moon King, a horse coming from Northlands Park in Woodbine. This horse is a lot of early speed, so he'll be close to the pace. Papa Frank stretching out to a route of ground after sitting fairly close to the pace in sprint races, so he can stalk the pace and be pretty close up there. I think that the pace is going to be good for Striker PhD to run into. The question is simply, is he good enough? And Kevin Orozco rode this horse last time out. It was the first time he's ridden this horse in a race. This horse is not an easy horse to ride, but I think Kevin did a really good job last time. I think Striker and Kevin get along well together. This horse, if he has something left in the tank, he may be heard from late. So don't count out Striker PhD. He drew post position number 10. That's not a good post position. But the good news for him is he sits towards the back of the field anyway. I'd expect him to get out of the gates. Kevin's going to get over towards the rail, or as close to the rail as he can, and get some good position heading into the first turn. Striker PhD is not going to be caught 10 wide. Let's put it that way. He doesn't need to rush out of the gates. There are going to be a bunch of horses going by him anyway in the opening 16th. So Striker will be able to cross over, and I think in a good position heading into the first turn. We talked about Moon King, a horse who's going to be setting the pace. Comes off a nice win at Northlands Park in an allowance race. Took the field gate to wire. He's going to be setting a fast pace, but he's going to have pressure. And it looks like from a class perspective, he's a little bit up against it. That's the Mount Rainier Stakes. I went with Prime Engine, number 2 over number 3, Mach 1 Rules, and number 5, Barkley. So let's take a look at the 4 stakes races. Just a recap of who I picked. In the first leg of the All-Stakes pick for the Emerald Express, I went with Vicente Shadow, number 6. Then I went with Philly Baby, number 1, in the NGC Stakes for 2-year-old fillies. Race number 7, I went with a long shot, Protective Shield, 12-1 on the morning line. She's number 8, and she's my top pick in the Boeing Stakes, race 7. And then in race number 8, I went with Prime Engine. So those are the 4 stakes races on Mile Preview Day. We've got food trucks here at the track. It's going to be a lot of fun, a good atmosphere, good races, good food. Who doesn't like good food, right? I mean, I wish I could go down from the booth and take some food in between races. Can't do that, but maybe I will before the races. But we look forward to seeing you guys here at the track or watching on TVG at your off-track wagering facility, on your computer, wherever. It's going to be a great day of racing here at Emerald Downs. First post time, 2 p.m. on Sunday, Mile Preview Day. Good luck, folks. Thanks for tuning in.